The 1911 election was one which divided our country. We experienced issues such as reciprocity and the Naval Act. In the end, Borden came out on top, leaving Laurier to contemplate his middle roads. The Conservatives during the 1911 election formed coalitions with other political interests, such as Bourassa and the Nationalists, in Canada to oppose the Naval Bill and reciprocity. The Conservatives campaigned with the Nationalists as a united party which was supported by the Quebec Nationalists, business interests, and Liberal insurgents. The Liberals at this time had been in power for 15 years. By this election, Laurier was in ill health and was reluctant to embrace change. They had also run out of ideas, which made his party conceptualize the Naval Bill and reciprocity. When you studied their party during this time period, you could see their influence in Canadian politics was declining. The Liberals went through many issues such as internal division. This not only weakened their defense, but caused them to look unorganized and untrustworthy. An example of the division was the Revolt of the 18. The most prominent member was Clifford Sifton. He was an MP for the West and a member of Laurier's party. He left Laurier and his party to work with the Conservatives in Borden, opposing reciprocity. He inspired the Revolt of the 18. The Revolt of the 18 most likely showed the most weakness in the Liberal Party. This occurred when 18 Liberals released a manifesto claiming the reciprocity agreement was the worst blow to ever threaten Canadian nationality. This claim was supported by business, manufacturing, and transportation industries. When the Liberals decided to leave their party, Borden accepted help from them, even though it caused minor controversy among his own party. When this occurred, Borden threatened to resign over the conflict, which made his party resolve the issues and rally behind him to show the Conservatives as united. In this imitation debate, we can see the perspectives of both Laurier and Borden and possibly why the election ended the way it did. Prior to this, I will explain my questions and my historical thinking. After the debate, I will show you a small video from the perspective of a farmer and another from a fake businessman's accounts. For my project, I focused on the historical thinking concept of cause and consequence. My first question was, how could Canada be different now if Laurier had won the election? I infer, based on my research, that if Laurier had won, we most likely would have had a stronger political relationship with the United States due to reciprocity and establishing it back then. We also may have had a more war-torn country due to World War I. This is based on the fact that not only was Laurier's health declining, but Borden was involved with the military during this time, therefore could look over the operations as closely as he possibly could. For my second question, which was, what were the consequences of this election? I answered, some consequences that were apparent were again the relations with our friends south of the border in relation to reciprocity. Also, the election caused a lot of internal division, not only in the Liberal Party of Canada, but in the Canadian population. Not to mention, the whole Quebec Nationalist Party went against its own values just due to their opposition to Laurier's liberal views. Therefore, if these issues were never that apparent, or if the election never happened, then the Quebec Nationalists still could be a prominent party in Canadian politics. My third question is, what caused the election to end the way it did? I believe that Borden not only won due to the decisions of the Liberal Party and the opposition created within the public, but also due to the political opposition of not only the Conservatives and the Quebec Nationalists, like Laurier anticipated, but his own party as well. Now for the prime ministerial debate. These ideas and opinions are not reflective of my own and are purely based on the time period that the election took place. The term Yanks or Yankees is not an appropriate term for Americans and again is spoken in the perspective of the population from this point in time.
I believe reciprocity is an excellent decision, as we can institute a stronger business relationship with the United States. I have already been speaking with President Taft, who is open to concurrent legislation. We have discussed the terms, and they will be as follows. Raw materials will be allowed to flow freely across the border. Some manufacturing items will be admitted at lower tariffs. Some of the positive outcomes will be a stronger relationship with the United States, easier and cheaper transportation across the border, financial benefit of Canada's economy due to an expansion of markets.
What about the consequences of this action? Would you care to explain that since it is concurrent legislation, it can be terminated by either party at any time. This is a peculiar situation to base the economy on. Would you like to enjoy watching our country go into recession? I am going to express some concerns of our citizens. Reciprocity will make Canada a supplier of raw material for American manufacturing. Some of our agriculturists will face competition from the Americans, not to mention the reciprocity runs counter to our country's basic economic policies started by Sir John A. Macdonald. No trucks or trade with the Yankees. Also, the issue of the Naval Act. Many people are against this in some way. Some of the French Canadians, Bourassa, and I spoke to believe this measure is too excessive. They believe that it will just be used to aid the British Empire in their battles such as the Boer Wars. They also think it will allow Britain too much external control over Canadian military. Some of the English population that we spoke to thought it was insufficient and not enough. They felt like it was an abandonment of the British. I mentioned this so to find an answer to the looming questions of our people. It is our job as political figures to attest our views clearly and truthfully, and to let them be aware of our motives and plans for not only our future, but our country's future as well.
To begin, reciprocity can only improve the economy by lowering or eliminating tariffs on certain items. This will allow us to expand markets to the south and to build a political and economic relationship with the United States. As much as it is a precarious situation, as a fairly new country, we need to take the risk of reciprocity in order to achieve not only economic stability, but political ties. For the Naval Act, I've tried my best to find a position which is in the best interest. Although many are unhappy, I feel as though this will be the best option. To address the inquiry of the British and external control, we are no longer a colony of Britain. To be quite fair, our Navy will be there to assist the British, just as they have done for us. However, we just have to inform them that as our own confederation, we must have military independence. This is in no way to abandon them, just to show them that we are a united country and we must decide when and when not to fight.
Je suis un homme d'affaires honnête. Mon entreprise est au cœur du Québec. Je n'aime pas l'acte du service naval. Pourquoi devons-nous donner des ressources pour être utilisées par les Anglais? C'est trop. Je suis toutefois d'accord avec libre-échange avec les États-Unis. Je crois que ça va aider avec l'expansion de mon entreprise. Donc, la réciprocité peut me faire négliger l'acte de service naval. Je vote libéral.
My family and I have lived on the old homestead for that 20 years. We settled in Ontario and took up some farmland. My wife and I took Graham with us from England to settle in the place they call Canada. There, she gave birth to 2 lovely daughters. This election coming, Laurier is promoting free trade with the United States. I'm worried about losing customers to those Yankees. I need to support my family, and if those Yanks take over, so help my soul. This is why when I go to the polls this year, the Conservatives are crossed on my card.
To conclude my Heritage Fair project, I asked the question, how do the events that are happening now connect to then? As of right now, we have a free trade agreement with the United States as established in 1987. As some of the concerns of our past citizens have become a reality, more and more of our nation is noticing. A concern of the reciprocity was it would make Canada a supplier of raw material for American manufacturing. Currently, we are excavating the oil sands in provinces such as Alberta and then sending the oil to America to get refined. Did you know that America is one of the largest exporters of refined oil? When we sell it to them to refine, we make profit, but not nearly enough profit to buy back that same amount of oil refined. This is shown in the pricing of gasoline, even in Ontario. Last year in March, the average price of gasoline was just over 90 cents a liter. Now it is pushing $1.20 a liter, which is almost 30 cents more a liter. This may seem like a minor increase, but when the average gasoline tank size is 50 liters, that's about $15 more per tank. This is especially bad for commuters and people whose cars have bad mileage. When you compare the prices per gallon in the United States, last year they paid only $2 per gallon. This is the equivalent of about 53.5 cents Canadian per liter. This year they're paying an average of $2.29 per gallon, which would be approximately 60.7 cents Canadian a liter. As much as we may have to pay for transportation and refinery costs, we have 11,685,875 registered vehicles in just Ontario. This is why the 1911 election is important, not just for the political views recorded, but the perspectives of the citizens. They can aid us with the current situations we are in. This shows the significance of this election not only from the political viewpoints, but also our own citizens. How does this contribute to our Canadian identity? The 1911 election contributes to our Canadian identity by helping create the foundation of our country. Very much so like a child, at this stage in Canada's Confederation, we were very impressionable. We tried different things, took risks, and tried to find our way and place in the world among more mature countries. By the Liberal government adopting the Naval Act and almost reciprocity, we were learning. As we have become a more developed country, we have established relations with other countries as well as made our fair share of mistakes. Without this election or the events which occurred during it, we might not have considered adopting reciprocity with the United States. Also, we may not have had the Confederation and the government that we have at this point in time.